Hi there everyone, and welcome to our next webinar, Minecraft for Beginners. But today we're going to be moving from what we did last week in our single player exploration of Minecraft into a taster of multiplayer. And so just exploring what we can do with that and looking at how we manage that multiplayer environment in the classroom. So that's the focus of today. We'll move on. I'm just going to share my desktop for a bit, and I'm going to be doing some tricky swapping around. So if I'm talking and then you're not seeing what I should be showing you, you can let me know. So as I said, this session is our Innovation Cluster Beginners Session 2, Classroom Management, and there's a link there you'll see, bit.ly Manage Minecraft. That's the PDF of these slides. So what I'm trying to do is, in every slide set, there's a lot of links that are support resources and ideas. And so if you download the PDF, you get all the links without worrying about having to find them in the chat. But Lauren's copying some of the more important ones into the chat as we need. So, oh, by the way, you'll see Lauren and I have these very sexy Minecraft backgrounds for our teams. And we can offer you those too. We're going to add them in the community because Troy Waller from Microsoft gave them to us. And so you can avail yourself of them as well if you would like to use them in any of your teams or activities or other things. So bit.ly/manage Minecraft is the PDF of today's session. And then you'll see our hashtag EduVicMinecraft. If you want to ask a question after the session or with me, or you just want a quick answer to something, I'm pretty quick on Twitter if I know the answer, or I can find someone who does. And Lauren's on Twitter as well. So Troy answers on that line. So we can get someone to help along that space. So today we're going to look at classroom management. And it really falls along three very important considerations. So that's technical, pedagogical, and social management of the class using Minecraft. And I never say doing Minecraft because Minecraft is not the focus. Minecraft is the tool for our learners. It's the tool for learning. And so normally I wouldn't start with the technical, but it's the one that gets in the way if you don't know how to do it. And we can discuss the pedagogical in the upcoming and social in the upcoming sessions more. I will give you a few hints and tips towards the end, but today's focus is mostly going to be on the technical aspects so that you can get started and test this out. So we're looking at the technical components. Okay, and in our community, we have a document, Managing Minecraft, and it has those in a table. And I'm going to invite anyone watching or in the session at a later time, open that document and just add some ideas. Or if you think of something while I'm speaking today, you can drop it in the chat and I will add it back into the document after the session. So if you think of something technical or something you want to ask, then add it and we can make sure it's incorporated in this document. So it becomes our summary of the important things to remember when you're managing the technical, pedagogical, and social aspects of Minecraft. And so to find that document, it's in our team space in Cluster 4 Managing Minecraft. And then with every team channel, you always have a tab that says Files. And I know it's an underused resource in our community. There are loads of resources in there in the Files section. So do make sure you pop in and have a look at what's happening there. And then it's Managing Minecraft doc. So that's how to find that resource. And I've kicked it off with my high level ideas, but you, the people in the session or people watching afterwards might want to come in and add some other ideas. And we do have some more experienced teachers in the space who can give beginners a nudge with some other helpful hints. So I'll come back to that at the end to remind you where it is. But so we're going to look at technical. So it's setting up the tools of Minecraft for successful multiplayer implementation. So last week we looked at the features of the worlds and how to start a single player world. And I'm presuming you have all your accounts set up and you've probably tested them. And if not, that's something we can have another conversation about. Although I did have, Lauren, Detvic School message me today that are having real problems, but we'll take that up later. I asked them to join the community and add it in the technical issues channel so that all the more experienced people in the community who are also inside the DET Vic network could help with some answers. So, and because I'm not inside that network, it's not something I'm really able to do a lot of helping with. So today we're looking at assessing the student capability and then using classroom mode for our multiplayer worlds. So those are the 4 key things that are big, high-level considerations for a technical management of Minecraft. Now, this is something I developed for Minecraft in Seattle for Australian teachers. And the 2 of these documents are very simple, but they're great ways to get to assess the student and staff technical capability. So the document on the left is a 5-step fun thing you can do with teachers in your team at school that can get them to engage with Minecraft. So it's really a quite simple thing. The whole of it, the 5 steps, can be accomplished within 2 hours. So you can access all these documents from that link, education.minecraft.net/Australia. So that's the one on the left, which is getting your teachers involved. And then the one on the right is 30-minute build challenges. Now, they're part of that getting your teachers involved because we get the teachers to do the build challenges with their students. But these build challenges are a really great way to just throw down a challenge for 30 minutes and walk around, talk to your students, look at what they can accomplish, what they know, who's technically proficient, who might need some kind of support, who's really way out there in terms of what they can do. So in 30 minutes, walking around, talking to your kids, giving them something fun as an open-ended challenge, you could pretty well assess where your kids are at. And that's really almost with any age group. These challenges really do map from, say, year 2 through to year 8, depending on how you want to frame them. And I noticed Taylor Mason has added some challenges of her own. She created an extended list for her teachers at school as well. So that's how to assess. Throw down a task, look at what your kids can do with it. It's the quickest way to assess the student capability, what they know. You know, you will have children who haven't been allowed to have Minecraft at home, who don't know it, but I guarantee you within an hour of being online in activities over a week, they'll be as proficient as most of the other kids in the class. So I recommend the 30-minute challenges, and once you see them, you might think of your own fun challenge. So they're meant to be fun, challenging, something you can, it's open-ended, it's your own visualization of something, there's no right answer. Okay, so when you go to find, and I don't know if you had this problem, when you go to find classroom mode for Minecraft Education Edition, it is really tricky to find because you keep finding these links that say go download Minecraft Education Edition, and you get to this page that says get Minecraft Education Edition, and right at the teeny weeny bottom of that page is classroom mode is available for Windows and Mac. So you've got to look for that link at the bottom of that page when you go to find it. It's a little frustrating that they don't have a higher level for it. Now, I do want to say classroom mode is a really effective tool, very handy, but it was last developed in 2018. And there are a few little things about it that need updating, and I'd love to get people's thoughts on that. So we can give feedback back to Seattle on how we think that's tracking. And I've got some news about something about that a little later. Okay, so after you log in, you're going to do play. So that's how we're going to get started. I'm not going to ask you to do this now. I'm just going to go through some slides, then we're going to jump on and do something together. So remember that you're going to log in, and do remember that you're using your education.vic.gov.au login, because we had a session with the teacher using a different login because they had different other accounts in their school, and it was the first step that we fell over because she couldn't connect because she wasn't using the same tenancy. So theoretically, in a multiplayer world, anyone in the Victorian tenancy could join in with anyone in the Victorian tenancy. So you could have kids from another school come in, as long as they're Department of Education schools into a multiplayer world to a limit. So the limit is that it can take up to 30. We've got teachers in the network who've used it with 25, but then most people say it's optimal around 20. So that you have to work that into how you shape your classroom activities. So you log in, you're going to choose play. Now, if you're going to host a multiplayer world, you're going to choose host. So even if you design a new world or you pick one of the worlds you want to play that you've already got loaded, you can also host that world and make it multiplayer. And you'll see to the right here, this is Silverton Primary Schools. They've kicked off our Connected Communities Challenge, and they sent me their world just to give me a little idea of how they're tracking on it. It looks really exciting. So I've been looking at that. And if you don't know what that is, it's a challenge where we've got one world that's going to pass between 7 or 8 schools, and in each school they're going to build in something to create a community space that when should the next pandemic come, people won't feel so lonely, disconnected and alone. So they're looking to design that would make people of all ages, of all interests, feel comforted in their community. So interesting to see what kids design. And we've just made that Greenfields, go crazy, bring your wackiest design ideas, but as long as they meet the brief. Okay, so instead of doing play, you're going to host a world and move on. And if you're the players, when you come into, after you've logged in, you're going to choose join the world. So to be the host, the world is accessible as long as you have it open. As soon as you close the world, everyone is off and the world is no longer accessible. And so that's a really handy thing. During term 2 and 3, some of our teachers did Freaky Friday and they just opened a world for an hour where kids came in, the teacher hung out and played with them, threw down some challenge ideas. And when the session was over, the world was closed. So it wasn't continuing to be accessed at that time. By the way, everything we're doing today, kids can do. Kids can host a world for their friends, as long as their friends are also DET students. So, and I know that caused some concern for a couple of teachers. There's been some discussion in our community space, but it really is something I think we can capitalise on because kids can be doing creative work, homework if you want, outside of school, in a hosted world shared across between their homes. We just need to make parents aware that if you're not hosting the world, you're not in charge, you're not supervising it, you're not the person who needs to be responsible for what's going on in that world. So it's an important distinction. Okay, so then when you get to join a world, you're going to be asked for a code. And so the person hosting the world will give you a four component code made up of symbols from Minecraft, and you'll click on each one to add it in order into the world, and you should, voila, be part of that world. So let's go do that. And let me see if I can just get us out of sharing this again and go into Minecraft. So now you're going to join me in this activity. So can you see my Minecraft screen? Cool. So now we're going to play. And I'm going to choose a new world. So I'm going to do create new, just so we go through the rigors of that. And I'm not going to use a template. I'm going to go straight to new. So you're not doing this yet. I'm going to give you a code in a minute. So I'm just going to call my world. What do we want to call this world? Teacher fun. Okay, and we don't want it survival. I don't want you to die in the first minute that you get into the world. So I'm going to make it creative and we'll keep it peaceful. And I'm going to make it flat for a good reason. Because sometimes if the terrain comes in and people get lost very quickly. So we're going to have a flat world just to get us started. And I like to show the coordinates. You'll see any of these options you can turn on or off as you need. Okay, and we're going to go, I'm going to host the world. So that's going to generate the world, the flat world that I just created. And of course, there's nobody else in it. Now I'm going to hit the escape key on my keyboard. And because I've told it I'm going to host the world, it's now giving me the host options for the world. So the join code, if I mouse over it, is Alex Apple Potion. And so you could use the IP address, but let's see if we don't need to, and we can go straight to just using the join code. So now if you're going into the world, you're doing join instead of start a world, you should be using that join link. Let me just bring that up on a slide. And we'll all land on top of each other probably to start with. So it's Alex Apple Potion. And if I step back, right, I can see Sarah's here. And Brian's here. And Lauren's here. Woohoo! Excuse my croaky voice, people. I have a cold. I do not have COVID. It's all right, Victoria. You are safe. Sarah, I'm loving your skin. Really cool. And what about Luke? We getting Luke in? Ah, there's Luke.
Yeah, I'm on debut. It's the first time I've used it, so.
Okay, so you're just using the W, S, and D to move, S to step back, W to move forward, and A and D to go left and right. And then you're just using your mouse or your touchpad or your trackpad or whatever you want to turn your body. And you'll use those in combination to move around. Okay, and just a little revision on what we did last week. Remember, it's break a block, and make a block. And we don't have anything in our inventory, so we better get something. So you want to click on the E on your keyboard, just the letter E, and put some things in your inventory that you might want to use to build with. I think I'll have a staircase somewhere. It's really interesting watching kids do this because they're very organic at the way they build. They can have very little communication between each other and really focus on doing some amazing things. Okay, so just grab a few things and put them in your inventory. So it's just dragging them, pick it, drag it, drop it, so that you've got a few things in your inventory. And you can explore more of that later. Now, because this is creative, we have a full inventory. If we were in survival, we would have to go get all these things. So we have to mine for them, we have to smelt them, we have to craft them, and that's hard work. But it's great if you want to trial some kind of simulation with Minecraft. But we're in creative, which means we have all the tools at our beck and call. And to close the inventory, all you need to do is hit the E again. Okay, and cool, you've all started building something. Now remember, to place a block or whatever slot you're in is what you'll be placing. So I'm going to try, I'm always on the touchpad on my Mac, I'm always breaking things instead of placing them. So I'll just break a few things there. Don't fall in any holes. And right mouse is to place something, and left mouse is to break something. Pretty straightforward. And pretty quickly we can get some things going. It's a stairway to nowhere. We'll pen in that sheep perhaps with a bit of a fence. Okay, so we're building. All right, and we're all in the one world. Pretty painless. Now we want to touch the T key on your keyboard. And you'll see that brings up chats and commands on the bottom of your screen. And you'll see to create a command or to pull in other things, if you hit that slash, you'll see some of the things you can command: code builder, world spawn, teleport, time, weather, and so on. The one that looks like a cog, that's going to take you back to the chat sessions. So you could mute all the chat if you wanted to, because you're the teacher, you could turn off the chat. But if we want to talk to each other, all we need to do is type in the chat bar and then hit the return key. And while that's up, we can chat with each other. Now, chat's important. It's part of digital citizenship for kids to learn how to do this appropriately, how to get their message across. And because it's not formal language, we're not writing an essay here, abbreviations are okay as long as people understand what it is you're actually saying. So it's good for teams to be able to chat, and they can be doing this from their different homes. If they were working on a joint project, students could be in the world together. One student could have hosted the world, and then they can all be chatting about their project as if they were working together in one person's home. So we've got our chat going. And this is important because this is also something we're going to need to use to access classroom mode. And so we can chat, we can get around in our world. To close the chat again, all you need to do is hit the return and it will come out of chat and you're back into building and in the world. Okay, so I'm hosting a world now and we're all in that one world. And I want to now show you how we can bring in classroom mode. Now, classroom mode is a separate app that allows to Minecraft. It's a companion app that allows you to manage Minecraft without being, without physically in Minecraft, watching your students inside Minecraft. So, so if you're looking at the world at the moment, I'm just going to do escape to pause my Minecraft. And I'm going to go and bring up classroom mode. So this is going to say login failed. Don't worry about that. So are you seeing, let's try this again. You're going to need to log in. And classroom mode has this annoying feature that it makes you log in every time you open it. It doesn't remember your access. But you do have to log in to bring it up. And you'll see something that looks like this. It says server list, and it says Teachers Challenge World and Freetown. That's a world I'm hosting that I could access. Well, what I'm going to do is you'll see add server or waiting room. Now, waiting room is the one we want to take use of. And you'll see classroom mode. Please enter the following command in Minecraft. So I'm going to take this command, and the way I copy that is by clicking on these pages over to the right, the copy link, and then go back to my Minecraft space, resume the game, and I'm going to put the T in again to bring up the chat, and I'm going to paste Command V, that message that Classroom gave me, and then hit return. And we should see connection to server established. And now we are connecting the two apps. So Minecraft is now connected to classroom mode. I'm just going to pause Minecraft and bop that over to classroom mode. And if you have a look here, here we are in the world. So I can see you're all bunched up there in a little bunch. It's an open field because we have just one world, one flat world. So there's no terrain, there's nothing, a great deal visible there. And you'll see that it lists all the players in the world. And I can chat from here. And you will see that it will appear in the world. If you were doing something and you had got lost and I wanted to bring you back into some part of the world, I could pick you up and drag you to somewhere else. So you'll see I just moved Lauren out into a space over here in the naughty corner. But it may be a student's got lost, or often with teachers, it's a teacher flew away because they learned how to fly and then they very quickly flew away. So you use their name to then drag them to where you want them to be. So if you're wanting students to spread out, perhaps to build in their own space or whatever, and you can see the coordinates on the top of the map as you move. So I'm going to just, while we're doing that, I'm just going to go back to my presentation because Sean McKeechan from our community has prepared a really nice little movie to show us about his work using classroom mode. So I don't know if people here know Sean, but he's at Lyndhurst Primary School and one of our community members. So let's hear from Sean while you have a play there in the world.
Hi everyone, I'm on the Minecraft Education Edition.
Can you hear that?
Download page. So to get the classroom mode, you can just go a little bit lower from where you would normally download your Education Edition of Minecraft. Go down a little bit lower and it's sort of in the fine print down here. So classroom mode is available in here. You click on that and we'll put you on the Mac and you'll start to classroom mode will download. So once it's downloaded, you have to have your world open. It's a bit of a rainy day here. But once it's open, you can go into search for classroom mode and open it up and you'll have to sign in.
So this is essentially what I've just done, but it's a good reminder of what you need to do. So opening the world first and getting it established, shared, and then signing into classroom mode.
Okay, so it'll log in, and once it's logged in, you need to go to, I go to the waiting room, and I simply copy this, and this allows me to connect the classroom mode with my world. So if I copy it, and I just minimize that, and I go back into my world, open the chat, I can just paste it in there and press enter, and the connection is established. And there it is here. So you can see my world here.
And you can see Sean zooming in and out there.
There's a roller coaster, a couple of things. So normally what would happen is you'd have all your kids would connect, have them post, like you'd be posting together, they'd all be connecting into it and you'd be able to see them all. You'd be able to chat with the kids here. But the greatest benefit of using classroom mode, so this is where you would chat with kids, but the greatest benefit of using classroom mode is just being able to use these controls here. So you can pause the game if you need to get their attention. You have to say if there's any chat that might be happening. Weather. Obviously you can see my weather's a lot better now. This stops the kids from putting TNT everywhere, which kids like to do when they're all together, when the whole classroom's together. This stops players from hurting each other, stops players from damaging each other's creations, which is very important. And that stops them from damaging each other. Okay, so that's the greatest, one of the greatest benefits of it. What I would normally do is, if I want all the kids in one spot, so I'd see all the kids in an area, but if I had them all over in the roller coaster in the theme park world that I've made, I want them over on the around the jumping castle. I can teleport them, and all I do is, when they're all down here, I just drag and drop them in. You can see I've got myself where I could get, I just moving myself around here, just for example. So I might go into water slide. You can sort of see in the background, I'm just sort of moving to different spots, and I might go back there now. So you can teleport the players as well. This is great as a teacher. Especially at the beginning when students, they're not quite following the rules and you really want to let them know that, look, if I need to take full control, I will with classroom mode. And perhaps later on you won't even need classroom mode. But it is especially great benefit. I'll show you what it looked like when I was on remote learning. I managed to get about 20 or so kids on at once from home when I was on remote learning. At school, I could get the whole class on all at once. It can get a little bit laggy. Though, if that does happen, look, I've had to reconnect it again, go back into the classroom mode, copy that code, put it into the chat, and then it works. It works well. But it is a great feature to use.
So great. That's really good points from Sean there. Let's go back into our world, into the space, and I'll just remind you of some of the, actually I'll use the PowerPoint I think while you're playing there, some of the features that we just saw. So in the map you'll see this set of ons and offs on the left-hand side. And they're really important features. Teachers love them. And I like the way Sean said you may start off wanting to use this in class and it may be useful. Some teachers don't need it. Some teachers find it's very useful in different occasions. If you've got very excited kids, there may be ways you might want to use some of these features. And others find that just being able to see where the kids are and monitor the chat by briefly passing past the classroom mode is a great way to do it. So the chat will all appear for you as you move through. Okay, so what are those things? Well, the first one pauses the game for everyone. That's really handy if you're trying to get a message across to the class. Okay, here's the next step in our challenge, and everyone's excitedly building and talking and doing whatever, and it's a bit like getting kids to turn the screen off, on the monitor off, on a computer, or the old put your hands on the top of the monitor or hands in the air or whatever to gain their attention. So it pauses the game. It doesn't throw anybody out. It just stops it. So they can't be doing everything. They're frozen, as it were. And so you can turn that off and on from classroom mode. So you might pause it for 5 minutes to give them a new instruction for the next thing, or maybe they're getting a little bit rowdy and you want to say, okay, I know you're excited and having fun, but let's try and keep the noise down a little bit and go on. Okay, the next one is on-off chat. So you can disable the chat. If it's off, that means the chat is okay. If you put it on, it disables the chat. So they're in the multiplayer world, but you've turned off the chat capability. Now, some teachers like, if you're working with younger kids, like to get the children to earn the right to chat. So you might have some kind of process where you say to the kids, like, you've got to have done these 3 challenges and proven yourself, and then you get the right to chat, or the class will get the right to chat. So,
Ron, sorry, before you continue, are you supposed to be sharing your screen just now? Because I can't see it.
What are you seeing?
Just you.
Oh, okay. Let me go back then. Did you see Sean's video?
Yeah, we saw Sean's video. It was after that you stopped sharing. Okay,
because it thinks I'm sharing, which is quite strange. Okay, let me just go back. Yeah, it thinks I'm sharing. So, and let me see if I'm sharing now. Are you seeing it now?
Yeah, I can see it now. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So the top one, that blue one, is pausing the game. And it's a very handy little tool. I mean, some teachers think it's a bit draconian to say, boom, that's it, I've paused the game. But what I like to do whenever I have a play session with Minecraft, I like to leave 5 to 10 minutes at the end for reflection and discussion and debrief. And sometimes that's very hard, even with a room full of teachers who are still playing. So if you pause it, then you can get that quality time for discussion. And it gives everyone then a chance when you come back to save their work and move on. By the way, there is an issue that Minecraft saves on the computer that it's on. So we've worked out some ways that you can save to the OneDrive in your school or to other places. But if children are sharing laptops or things like that, then you really need to, when you go to the at the end of their build, they need to export their build. And they can export their build as a file to anywhere. So they can export their build and mail it to themselves or mail it to you or export it to their OneDrive or whatever. Otherwise, it will be saved. The default is to save it on the machine that it's on. So disabling the chat is something you might want to think about if you want to do that. I love seeing kids chat and just watching their discussion and hanging out chatting with them. And that's part of digital citizenship because it really is a lived curriculum. Perfect weather on or off. Sometimes when you're building or kids are demonstrating something they've built to the rest of the class and the rain comes in, it's very annoying. So you can turn on perfect weather so that you're not going to have that. Allow mobs is monsters. So things that can harm you are allowed in the world or not. So if you turn on allow monsters, they will be there. Kids love the extra threat of that, and you can decide if you want to. And you can turn this on and off at any time during their play. So if something's getting to be annoying, you can turn it on or off. Allow destructive items, so that's, you know, TNT, lava, those sorts of things. You can turn that off so kids can't, because it's very tempting. And believe me, I've had a pizza night with teachers where they discovered TNT and just blew giant holes in the landscape. Playing with TNT because it is a lot of fun. And there are some days you just want to blow something up, you know. So you can turn that off if you're really trying to get into a creative frame and you're not just having some fun play. Players can take damage, so that means they can be harmed or not harmed. Take damage is a set of hearts, you know, like your life in any game where you have your life is depleting. If you take hits or something, well, you can turn that off. I don't use any of the PvP features, player versus player features in Minecraft, but I know a lot of teachers who every now and then will just let the kids have a player versus player game, or so they can invent a Hunger Games game or something like that. That's totally up to you. Prohibits world modifications. So if you've built a world or some child has built an amazing world or a team of kids have built something fantastic, you can turn off the capacity to build in that world, to modify what's been built. And that's really important, you know, when kids are walking through other people's projects. And often it's not because anyone maliciously damaged something, it's just accidental that they may damage something, you know, because I'm clumsy. I just go in and break up stuff when I turn up in world. So I have to be very mindful. And then the last one is allows players to injure each other. And so players damage each other is player versus player. So these are all things you can turn on or off to make the Minecraft experience more customized to your needs with the age group or the students or the focus that you've got for that particular lesson. And any questions? I mean, you've all got your mics. You could ask if you wanted.
I think Sarah's got a question.
Yeah, sorry, I just type it in because I don't want to interrupt. So I wanted to host a mini Melbourne, so
Yes.
I would be able to turn off world modification to stop them from being able to destroy if I were to host my own version of it.
Yes.
Perfect. And I can turn off the destructive stuff as well because, yeah, I had a feeling they were going to be getting a little bit excited. They know I can't stop them from doing stuff, but
Yes.
now I can. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll show you in a sec. You can pull some of these up inside Minecraft once you've made the connection. But so yeah, this is very handy. Some people will want to go into Mini Melbourne as an excursion, so you don't want to actually build anything. But others will want to go into Melbourne, and some people have been doing redevelopment projects. One of the tasks we did with teachers at the start of the year was to build a rooftop garden. And so we got the kids to fly above Mini Melbourne and to choose a place they thought could use some greenification and to start a rooftop garden on one of the tops of a building space in Melbourne. And so there are times, you know, depending on the task that you've got and how you want to go, you can see these tools are very important. So yeah, any other questions? Okay, so the steps to get the multiplayer going is to log into your Minecraft, launch, create or host your world, and then log into classroom mode, click on waiting room, go to the chat, open the chat with the T, and then paste the copied link into classroom mode. And then you should be able to manage the class just the way I've done there. I wanted to tell you just a little provision on that, and I'll come back in and play with you in a minute. I've been talking to Victor Rajeski from Footscray High School, who, like Sean, found that at different times classroom mode can get a little laggy. And Sean found that at school, all he needed to do was recreate the connection, that it wasn't a big problem. But as you can see, Victor wrote to me and said that he thought it was laggy, and he's a high school teacher and computer boffin, I think. And so he started his own tool based on classroom mode. And I've put the link in there, and he said if anyone wants to use it and give him feedback, so if any of you would like to support a colleague working on designing his own classroom mode tool, he's trying to find something that's more streamlined and up to date. So he's working from what classroom mode does to a new tool. And so I wanted to include that because, you know, we can always do better with tools. I kind of love classroom mode. And as Sean said, you may start with it in certain contexts, and you may not want to use it in others. But yeah, if you're interested in that, this will be in the PDF. You can access Victor's work, and I'll post this in our community as well because he's a member of our community with Footscray High School. So that's really cool. It was good to find out about that. So we have some support things here for classroom mode. We have Sean's video that you can watch through again. And the links for these are all here. Sean's is in a Google video, so you can access that. There's the Classroom Mode Users Guide, which is a nice, simple little guide to remind you of the steps. We have our community channel in our cluster on classroom management. And then we have Victor's new Mind Class tool that we could use. So I'm just going to get out of the presentation and come back into the world. Have you guys been building? I have to unshare and go back into Minecraft.
Ron, a few people have come in after you've started the Minecraft world. Could you just go over again the steps to join?
Absolutely. So I will, well, if I quit out of this, interesting, you'll all get tossed out of the world. Is everyone okay with that and coming back in?
Yep.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
fine.
All right, I'm going to close the world just so you can see. So I just did escape, and I'm going to go back to the cube, save and exit. And then I'm just going to leave it sitting there. Now I'm going to go back over to classroom mode, and you'll see alert, disconnected from host. So now, because the world is down, you've all been disconnected from the host for this. So that's okay, because I'm going to log in again and start it up again in a sec. So I'll just close that as well so we know where we're going. Okay, so you've logged in, and this is your screen that you see. View my worlds, create new, join world, and so on.
Ron, are you sharing your screen just now?
Yes, it keeps dropping out.
Yeah, I can't see it.
When I swap between tools, hold on, I'm bringing it back up. Is that it now?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so this is when you log in. We're going to view my worlds, and I've already created the world we were building in, so we'll go back into that one, which we call Teacher Fun. So I'm going to launch that world. Now, when I click on the world, or if I clicked new, I would see these options, play, host, and settings. And I created the settings for this world to be flat and creative, so we can use all of the action in here. So I'm going to host because I'm hosting the class, but a student could host the map for everyone to share. Host, and then it's going to come in, finish its load. And here's the world we started in our flat world where we started building. Oh, good, someone penned in that sheet. And hitting the escape key is going to bring up the code. So at your end, you're now going to go to join world. So when that screen comes up, you're not hosting, but you'll see a big button that says join world. Can everyone see that, or should I bring the slide up with it on it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Everyone's good with join world? After you log in, you should see down the bottom, join world. And then it's going to ask you for a code. And the code here is cookie, Steve, panda, cake. So it's cookie, Steve, panda, cake. And you're just clicking on each of those in the right order, and that should bring you into the world. Anyone having any problems? You can use your mics because we're only a small group, so I'm really cool with people telling me if there's any issue. So we're now joining a multiplayer world where we're all in the one world. So if I go back into the game now, I should be able to see numbers of you in here. And you're all moving around, and I'm moving, remember, using your WASD to move in the world. And this is a creative world, so I can fly up, double tap the space bar and hold it down and fly up in the air. And you can do your drone travel over the world. Don't fly away though, because this is typically what teachers do in a lesson, is fly off into space. And that's why I like to have the coordinates on in the world as well, so we can tell people where to come to if they get lost. Okay, so we're in a multiplayer world, and we were just playing with placing blocks and breaking blocks. And now we want to associate the classroom mode. So I'm going to just go in and grab classroom mode because oh no, I still got it open. Sorry, I didn't need to, but I will need to log in, I think, because it's going to ask me to log in again. This is one failing this has that is a little annoying, but it's kind of important that it associates correctly. So I've got my world open, I've shared it, everyone's in. I'm going now to open up classroom mode. And classroom mode's going to open, and we have add server, which I don't want to do. Waiting room is the actual aspect we want to use. So you'll see waiting room on the right. You're going to click on that, and then it's going to say, take this command over to Minecraft. So I'm going to click on the copy button to the right of that command, which says /connect 10.204.64.119:1858. So I'm going to copy that by clicking on that. And then I'm going to go back into my Minecraft world. I'm going to resume the game. And in order to chat, I'm going to hit the T for talk in the chat bar, come down into the chat bar, and I'm going to Control-V and paste that connect message. And so that connect message will then establish a connection between classroom mode and Minecraft. So is everyone good with that? I don't mind if people have their mics on.
I'm going to ask a stupid question, Bronwyn.
No stupid questions. There are no stupid questions.
So you're hosting a classroom mode game.
Yep.
And you're hosting the map. So we're all joining in classroom mode on this world. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You might have to go. I've got the link for the classroom mode, but how do I put it into Minecraft?
Okay, you've got the link. You go into the chat in Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
And down the bottom, just Control V and paste it. And then return. And that would then create the classroom mode. And so when classroom mode's up, you can see everyone on the map. And this is not so interesting because the actual map is a flat green space. So you don't have the terrain. You saw with Sean's video, he had a roller coaster. They're building an amusement park. And so he had a roller coaster and a water park and some other things. So you had, you know, something a little more visible. But for the group we've got, if I wanted to take Luke, for instance, and I can just drag him over to a different part and say, Luke, I want you to build in this area. Now, can you all type something in the chat in Minecraft for me? Just so I can see everyone chatting. And you'll see in classroom mode, is my screen on? Lauren, are you seeing classroom mode?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll see that the chat is coming up in classroom mode. So you, as a teacher, you can just watch this scroll along without having to monitor inside Minecraft so much. So I find that being able to just glance at the chat every now and then is quite handy. And I can say, something to the students, and it comes in as the teacher, that the teacher's saying something, because I'm using this interface in classroom mode to speak to the students. And then remember, up here is our other controls. So if I freeze you all now, if I turn this on, so now you'll see the game has paused. Do you see that on your screens? Or it's showing at least on mine, because I've paused the game. And that prevents students from playing. But if I turn it back off, then the game is back. I can turn the chat off using this, so that now it says game rule global mute has been updated to true. So now you're all muted, so you can't chat. And so you can explore all of these different controls.
Bron, there's a couple of people that can't join into the worlds of tried. Is there any tips you could suggest?
Okay, we need them to unmute and tell us what's going on. Are they trying to get into the join world?
I think so.
Or they're trying to link classroom mode, because you can link classroom mode to a world you host. You can't link it to the world I'm hosting.
I was just finding it difficult for actually getting into the chats and commands part of it, but I think I may have missed a step, so I'm sort of just backtracking through chat functions and whatnot. So I'll get there in the end, but it'll just be a bit of problem solving, that's all.
No, it's okay. That's what we're here for. So if you hit the T key on the keyboard in Minecraft, oh, you can't now because I've turned the chat off. I better turn it back on.
But I can't even see the chat mode. So, for instance, when I went into Minecraft,
yeah,
is it the play settings or switch accounts? Because the little icon on the left, which I assume is chat, takes me to a feedback page on the website.
No, you have to bring up the chat, or it doesn't exist in the world. Let me show you. So I'm in the world. Raining.
Okay, I couldn't even get into that far because I've tried 5 times and it just basically says that I found your code, I've put it in, but it's just not letting me access your world. It's basically just giving the screenshot of not working. So I've tried about a couple of times. So at the moment, I'm sort of just being a passenger and just watching. That's all.
Okay, so what screen message did you get?
I'll see if I can actually add it. I'll have to save it.
Check the code. It's Cookie, Steve, Panda, Cake.
Yeah, so I've put that in several times.
Yeah, but I want to know what message you get back.
So the problem is now it's probably going to work now that I've voiced my concern.
That's always the way. That's technology.
Yeah. So is this a bit of an issue that it tends to have? So if kids are in on, say, the school systems, are they going to have more of an issue using the school's internet connection compared to using a connection that they might have a personal?
No.
So once I've put in the code, it just says unable to connect to world, and it just says okay.
Okay, now my suggestion would be to close out Minecraft altogether and open it up again.
Okay.
And try it from there. One thing we have found, although the latest update from July or whenever it was supposed to have corrected this, was that if join wasn't the very first thing you did when you opened Minecraft, like if you'd visited another world or done something else, or already had Minecraft open and then you went to join a world, that it wouldn't connect. And so teachers were finding that kids had intermittent problems, like a kid could connect today and then not tomorrow. So the message was make sure you close right out, quit Minecraft out, and then open it up again and try again. And make sure you're not logging in with anything other than your education.vic.gov.au account. So a couple of our teachers have accounts for their high school or their different groups, and you can't use those.
So basically, what's worked is the typical thing that happens in ICT is close it down, restart it. So I'm now into your world, which is good. Thank you.
I like success. Okay, so you're in. That's all good. Now, if I go to resume game, to start the chat, all you need to do is hit the T on the keyboard and the chat window comes up. So it's just the T for table and you should see the chat and be able to chat. And it's still enabled. I haven't turned it off with classroom mode. So is everyone able to chat? Who wasn't able to get in? Lauren, was there anyone else we can help?
Yeah, there was one more person in the chat. I think it's Antonella. It said that she was unable to join.
So if you want to try doing that as well, just quit right out of Minecraft and then come back and I'll give you the code again. If you want to turn your mic on, that would be great because I can't see the chat. So Lauren's managing the chat and I'm just kind of trying to manage the screen. Yeah, sometimes you just have to, it gets itself twisted and you have to log back out. And as Sean said in his video, sometimes the classroom mode gets a bit laggy, which Victor has a big problem with. But I think that's probably because they're high school ICT. And you're best off just to restart it. Not Minecraft, restart classroom mode and reassociate the two things. So, but I found it's very useful and teachers were using this over remote learning quite successfully to just keep an eye on. You can't see the kids' computers when they're at home, but you can watch the chat or, you could ask a team to invite you into their teamwork and you could be part of what's going on and keep an eye on them. But remotely, kids could also create multiplayer worlds and host them themselves. And I see that as a big bonus. I don't see it as a terrible thing, as long as parents understand that that's not under teacher supervision. They can't have some random come in because the only people who can join with them are other students from DET Vic schools. So, you know, it's not usually a problem, except a high school, just high school kids. I love high school kids. Brought their friends to a class in Minecraft because their friends were part of another school and they wanted to show them what they were doing. So they brought their friends to their lesson in remote learning with their teacher. Well, that would have been nice, except their friends were a little badly behaved. The teacher had to speak to the kids and say, you know what, not to bring their friends in. So anyone who's in a DET Vic can share. So you could run a multiplayer world between two schools for a game or a competition or a collaborative exercise. It's a nice thing to do between a feeder primary and the secondary school, to have some kind of joint activity, maybe a mentor year 8 student helping some year 6s. That mentor student could come in, an ICT student in year 10 could come in and help teach the kids coding or something else. So there's lots of good reasons why that broader connectivity across the tenancy is a great idea. Add server is if you wanted to add a permanent world. So in mine, I have on my classroom mode, if I can't go back to that window, I've got a world that I want to bring up frequently. And so I've added it as a hard server. That uses the IP address of the world, and I've got a permanent IP. It can get a little tricky in Minecraft, especially on home computers, because most of us are on networks that give us a dynamic IP address. So it's just allocating an IP address at that time to you. And tomorrow when you log in, you might be allocated a different IP address. So yeah, it's easier to just go through the join code. Is there any, how is Antonella getting on? So these controls are really magic, and you can see if we wanted to move people, we can bring them together. We could separate them out. If I wanted to make sure people were building in their own space, I could move them around. I can monitor the chat and see what people are doing. So it's just a nice little tool to an overview of what's going on in the world. Any other questions? Does someone want to have a go at hosting a world and giving us a code?
Antonella's got in, Bron, just so you know, and she's having lots of fun.
Oh, cool. Good. I'm so glad. Just close the chat so I can see the world.
A couple of people have had to drop off, Bron, just because it's 6 minutes past 5.
Okay, I'll just move in to wrap up then. So you should practice trying to host a world with a few kids in your class. You should find you have less problems within the school network. Of course, depending on the time of day, I don't know about inside a Victorian network, but the time of day makes a big difference in New South Wales schools. You know, how many points of connection there are in the day. But for the most part, this is a really good way to get kids to collaborate, to make it part of reading groups, like reading groups, to have kids, you know, their team, it's their turn to be in the world. You just have to host the world. Or have one of them host. And you can have a student trained to set all this up without doing it yourself, even if you wanted. So I'll go back in, I'll leave you playing and escape from me and go back into my slides. So are you seeing my slides now?
Yeah.
You are, okay. So that was classroom mode. We've got some nice resources for you to play with there. And then the pedagogical considerations, I just want to quickly mention them because they will come up in upcoming webinars. It's looking at the length and timing of hands-on sessions. So things like, you don't need to play for hours. I've seen some magical projects where kids played 3 20-minute sessions a week. And they knew time, they were bang into it, focused, working on what they needed to do, and out at the end of it. So the timing and length of the sessions, that the students have focused tasks, and that you're leaving time for discourse. So 5 minutes earlier, stop and get time to talk about what did we do, what did we learn today, who had a great breakthrough in what they're doing. And the relationship of the in-game tasks to external tasks. How are you building that relationship between what they're doing in Minecraft and what they're doing in the external world? And there are lots of cool ways we'll look at how you do that. And that your evidence gathering is clear. And I like to use the term evidence gathering as opposed to assessment. And next week's webinar is actually on assessment. So that's a really cool one. And then social, the social considerations, the high level ones at least, are that the students establish rules, that you see digital citizenship as a lived curriculum. The kids, they'll make mistakes, but each one of those mistakes is a teachable moment. That you'll get new leaders will emerge in your classroom when you see them in multiplayer in the world. And then make room for surprise. Excuse my cough. Make room for surprise. Make room for delight, for the kids to surprise you. Again, this is content that will come up in our upcoming webinars. We have our document here, and if there are any questions or things in the chat, I'll grab those and put them into the doc. And if you have any ideas or things that you want to add, you're welcome to. It's inside our community files. And our next webinar is Creative Assessment with Minecraft Education Edition. So next Wednesday, we'll be looking at some very cool ways and pretty simple for you, fun for the kids, ways that you can use the activity in Minecraft as assessment and to output assessment. And particularly we're looking at the concepts of student engaged assessment and student driven learning. So it's going to be, again, hands-on fun. So we're going to learn to use cameras and portfolios and yes, lots of other cool tools inside Minecraft. So again, hands-on, and that's where we're up to today. Are there any other questions? I can come out of screen sharing. Anyone have any questions?